Orlando Bloom isn't shouting. He's not demanding headlines or making dramatic statements. But when he talks about Pirates of the Caribbean 6, people are listening. Because after 2 decades of unforgettable sword fights, cursed gold, and mythic adventure, Orlando has one thing to say: the only way this next film can succeed is if it finds its heart. It's a surprising comment from someone who's been at the very center of the franchise, side by side with Johnny Depp since the very beginning. But if you followed Orlando Bloom's journey, the message makes perfect sense. Back in 2003, when The Curse of the Black Pearl hit theaters, no one really expected much. A pirate movie based on a theme park ride. It sounded like a joke. But what the world got was anything but. The film was electric, funny, wild, unpredictable. And in the middle of it all were 2 characters who couldn't have been more different, but who somehow made perfect sense together. Jack Sparrow, played with chaotic brilliance by Johnny Depp, was unlike any character people had seen. And then came Orlando Bloom's Will Turner, grounded, noble, and full of heart. Together, they created something that felt bigger than entertainment. It felt like lightning in a bottle. As the franchise continued, that bond only grew stronger. Each movie raised the stakes, but the thread that held it all together was the emotional depth, especially in Will Turner's story. He wasn't just swinging swords and chasing ships. He was sacrificing everything for love and family. But somewhere along the way, something changed. When Orlando exited the main storyline after the 3rd film, fans noticed something missing. The 4th film, flashy and full of spectacle, felt empty. Jack was still there, the laughs were still there, but the emotional core was gone. It didn't feel like the same pirates anymore. Orlando returned briefly in the 5th film, and in just a short scene, fans were reminded of what made the original movies so special. Not the explosions or the magic, but the emotion, the longing, the soul. Now, as talks of a 6th film emerge, possibly a reboot or soft relaunch, Orlando has shared his thoughts, and what he said hits deep. He believes Pirates 6 needs to return to what made the story great in the first place: characters you cared about, relationships that mattered, and emotional moments that linger long after the credits roll. He explained that the action and adventure are fun, but without real emotion, it all becomes noise. His words weren't bitter or demanding. They were thoughtful, reflective, from someone who doesn't just remember the franchise, but helped build it. And fans agree with him, because Pirates of the Caribbean was never just about ships and sword fights. It was about people who didn't belong: pirates, blacksmiths, runaway brides, finding family, fighting for purpose, and choosing to be good in a world that gave them every reason not to be. That's the magic Orlando is talking about. He's not asking for another massive blockbuster filled with flashy names and shallow stories. He's asking for soul, for storytelling that means something, for emotions that hit, for heart, because that's what audiences remember. Not just Jack's crazy stunts, but Will's goodbye to Elizabeth. Not just the treasure chests, but the tears that came when a hero chose duty over love. That's what made Pirates unforgettable, not just fun, but feeling. And Orlando believes that's the key to making a 6th film that actually matters. Whether he returns to play Will Turner again remains a mystery, but his message is clear. If this story is going to continue, it needs to honor what came before, not just with cameos, but with care, with respect, with heart, and that might be the most important thing anyone has said about this franchise in years. If Pirates of the Caribbean 6 is going to happen, fans everywhere seem to agree it can't just be a loud, flashy reboot. It has to mean something. And Orlando Bloom's words have added even more weight to that hope. Because when someone like Orlando, who lived these stories on and off screen, says that heart is the one thing this franchise needs, it's not a suggestion, it's a warning. He doesn't say it out of bitterness or ego. He's not trying to insert himself into the spotlight. He says it because deep down, beneath the fame and success, this story actually mattered to him. It mattered to millions of us. And if Disney wants to bring pirates back, then Orlando believes they need to give it what it once had: truth, emotion, and characters we actually care about. It makes you wonder, what could a sixth Pirates film look like if they listened? It could be a story about aging legends, about Jack Sparrow, older now, still wild, but maybe a little more tired. Will Turner, still bound to the sea, still loyal to the people he loves, and their next and maybe final journey. But this time, it's not about cursed treasure or mythical monsters. It's about letting go. About asking what happens when heroes have to choose between glory and peace, between freedom and family, when the compass doesn't point to what they want, but who they've become. Imagine Jack and Will reunited, not to chase gold, but to rescue someone they both love. Maybe Will's son Henry. Maybe a new generation caught in the old war. Maybe even Elizabeth. Lost in some new kind of storm? The details don't need to be big. They need to be real. For once, the biggest treasure isn't what's locked in chest. It's the closure we never got. The goodbye we've all been waiting for. That's what Orlando sees. He's not calling for fan service. He's calling for a proper ending. Emotional journey that reflects who these characters have become, not just what they once were. It's no secret that Hollywood loves reboots right now. Fresh faces, new timelines, younger casts. But when it comes to Pirates, the heart of the series was never in its special effects. It was in its people, and that's starting to show. Even without Orlando or Johnny Depp officially signed back on, fans are already demanding more substance. Online forums, trending hashtags, and fan-made trailers have one thing in common. They focus on the emotion, the love stories, the friendships, the unfinished business. Orlando Bloom's quote didn't just hit home because he's a star. It mattered because it reminded us of a time when blockbuster movies made us feel something. And right now, more than ever, people are craving that again. For years, this franchise was about more than pirates. It was about choosing the right thing in a world full of wrong. About loving people deeply, even when time worked against you. About sacrificing yourself in silence while others took the glory. All of that came to life through Orlando's performance. As Will Turner, and even after stepping away for years, he still understands the story better than most. Because sometimes, the quiet characters carry the loudest wisdom. Will Turner was never meant to be the show stealer, but he was the heart. And now, in real life, Orlando Bloom is proving that he still is. His message isn't just for producers or studios. His message is for fans. For people who still believe in stories that make us cry and hold our breath. For people who don't care about big-budget effects if what's missing is soul. And if Disney is listening, really listening, Pirates 6 could become the rarest thing of all. Not a cash grab, but a conclusion. A last ride across the sea. A final drink of rum. A return to the characters we grew up with. And a goodbye that finally feels right. Maybe Jack sails off into the horizon one last time. Maybe Will is freed from his curse. Maybe Elizabeth gets her family back. Or maybe none of that happens, but they try, together. That's the heart Orlando's talking about. It's not about fixing every hole. It's about giving people something true. Something that doesn't just entertain. It heals the part of us that still remembers those characters as part of our own growing up. After all, these films weren't just about pirates hunting treasure. They were about us learning to be brave, to be loyal, to chase what felt impossible. And in today's world, that message isn't outdated. It's needed. Orlando Bloom's voice carries the weight of someone who knows what the franchise once was and what it still could be. Not because of fame, not because of money, but because he, like so many of us, still believes in stories that matter. And maybe, just maybe, that one thing he's asking for, that one word, heart, is the secret that'll bring this ship home. Something tells us he's right.